Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at Phil's bullshit claims on the PC cheaters and PC players having an advantage in Street Fighter 6 after he got his ass whooped the other night. We're also going to be looking at some of the FGCOS replies that I've got here, because there's a lot of confusion that's gone on with the FGCOS. Arturo took the website down, then he put it back up. A lot of people have contacted me wanting to know what's going on and if they should use it or not. I have got some people that are very confused because Arturo makes claims that he basically cannot back up. So we're going to look at those first, then we're going to look at a DSP memeology video, and then we're going to go after some of Phil's claims. And we're going to just debunk all this bullshit here tonight. First thing we're going to look at, so basically this is a reply that I got. I get a lot of these replies, people asking me about NVIDIA Reflex, and we're going to look at this to help reduce input latency. Now, NVIDIA Reflex, really quick, has to be coded for the game. Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, Tekken 8, Guilty Gear, Fightcade will not support NVIDIA Reflex. Okay, none of that stuff is coded to support NVIDIA Reflex. So whatever Arturo has claimed, it's all a lie. Okay, NVIDIA Reflex won't help you. Also, you're not going to go out and spend $1,500 on an NVIDIA Reflex monitor that has a Reflex Analyzer in it. That's just stupid, right? Like, no one's going to drop that kind of money, unless you're me, right? So, NVIDIA Reflex, yeah, get that out of your heads, okay? NVIDIA Reflex doesn't work in Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 has its own built-in delay reduction, okay? And we'll take a look at that when we get into Street Fighter 6 here. Basically, overclocking polling rate. Okay, I know a lot of people have contacted me about overclocking polling rate in Street Fighter 6. It doesn't actually benefit you whatsoever. Now, this is all marketing talk here, right? You could see this right here. A low polling rate such as 125 hertz adds up to 3 milliseconds of latency on average. In a game like Street Fighter 6 that is capped at 60 frames per second on console and PC, yes, you can adjust to 120 frames per second within Street Fighter 6 on PC, but that's only for menus and World Tour mode. Once you start playing in Fight Club and online, it is capped at 60 frames per second, even on PC. There's nothing you can do about that, okay? So, on a 60 frame per second game, one frame consists of 16.7 milliseconds, not 17.1, right? Like, this is all NVIDIA marketing speak, okay? Saving 3 milliseconds is 1/5 of a frame, okay? Like, you're not saving a huge amount of performance, and this is basically for, like, first-person shooters. In Street Fighter 6, overclocking the polling rate all the way up to 8,000 hertz, shocker, Xbox controllers can't do it. They're based on a USB 2.0 platform. They are capped at 124 hertz. So you can't really overclock it. PS5 controllers, yes, you can. I would suggest that you look at Rocket Science here. I'll have a video linked down in the description. He goes over it for Rocket League. It does not benefit you from my tests that will be in another video. Overclocking the polling rate on PC for Street Fighter 6 does nothing. You do not save anything. It's like 1/8 of a millisecond at most. So don't worry about overclocking your polling rate, right? Get a PlayStation 5 controller or a PlayStation 5 variant, and you're good to go. You don't need to worry about it. Stay away from Xbox controllers, right? It does have latency. They do have more latency, okay? Let's look at low latency mode. Here's a good one, okay. So we can go into NVIDIA low latency mode, right? Most NVIDIA cards all the way down to the 900 series will support low latency mode. The issue that you need to watch out for with low latency mode, which is right here, you have it for on and ultra. What you need to understand is low latency mode does not work in DirectX 12 titles and does not work in emulation. So it will not work in Fightcade and it will not work in Street Fighter 6. Okay, this is only meant for DirectX 11 titles, DirectX 10 and DirectX 9. So depending on which game you're playing, if the game has its own delay reduction, enable that. It'll be better than NVIDIA low latency mode. Alright? So, for Street Fighter 6, for Fightcade, enabling low latency mode, and I know Arturo recommends doing this in the FGCOS documentation, it won't work. Okay? It doesn't benefit you whatsoever. Okay, and let's just scroll down a little bit more here. Vertical sync, of course, make sure you have vertical sync disabled. Vertical sync adds a lot of input latency. And performance monitoring, right? I can bring that up here on my system. Right. So right now, because I'm recording on this PC, I'm using 43% of my GPU. I am recording this at 1080p. If I record this at 4K, it's about 98% of my GPU, and I don't want to just completely kill my PC. I don't have my streaming PC here with me, my recording rig. That's at work. So I'm just doing this at home here tonight because I have to do it, right? Okay, so that's basically what I want to talk about for FGCOS, right? So basically, a lot of people have been messaging me, asking me questions, how they can better decrease their input latency. We're going to go into that here on PC. It's not what Phil thinks. There are some things you can do to help improve performance, but decreasing input latency on PC, it's an old wives' tale. Okay, so let's take a look at the memology video here, shall we?
Well, guess what? If I can't file my taxes, I can't pay my taxes, I go to jail, and I can't stream. And they can do better than some... Jasper, no. You're not going to eat that one. Jasper! Jasper, if you're going to act up, you're going to have to leave. I'm not going to have you chewing wires to get my attention, so you can just stop that right now.
Like, imagine just being a disgusting pig. Your wires aren't routed properly. You just have shit laying on the floor and you have a cat. Right? A cat's gonna do cat things, Phil. That's its nature. Right? You have a piece of string on the floor. Cat's gonna fuck with it. You have your lights just sitting on the floor instead of taped up on the wall like you should have done. Or you could have got a piece of wood and then taped it to the wood so Jasper couldn't play with it and just have that laying on the floor. No, what do? You just toss it on the floor and you expect the cat not to fucking touch it. Like, clean up your shit, Phil.
You know better. You know better than to chew wires. And I don't want to put up with this morning. For your own good. Stop that. What the hell? Look what Jasper did! Jasper just did that! Jasper just did that! Jasper just did that! Jasper, what did I just say? You're gonna listen to your father. Gonna listen to your dad, or you're gonna get grounded and no allowance. Attorney of Forever did a 50-bit cheers. Is Burnell Jr. running around? Now, there's the thought.
Competition.
Yeah, dude, there was, you know, the bottom line is, if I had a stable income and things were a lot, if I was a big YouTuber, I made a ton of money, if I was a big streamer, I made a ridiculous amount of money, if I had a stable income and I didn't have these issues with taxes and shit, and things constantly screwing me over, and also if I didn't have, you know, hundreds of people who were mentally ill constantly trying to hurt me, then maybe I consider having a kid, but I don't think so, man. Plus, I'm 35 years old, you know what I mean? Could you just relax, please, Jasper? Seriously. Now he walks up for pets. This is how this cat is, because all he wants is attention. That's the only reason he's doing it. He's not chewing the wire because he wants to chew it. He's chewing it because he wants my attention. And he's upset that I'm talking with you guys and I'm not talking with him and I'm not paying attention to him. Not every moment can be for you, Jasper.
Yeah,
I'm
cat's
sorry.
not a narcissist like
not
you.
every moment.
Get fucked.
All right? I'm sorry. It's just not possible.
No one's really talking to me anymore now. Some people are taking off for the night.
I'm not in the FGC. I'm not someone who's following the trends. You know what I mean? All I know is that people have been finding ways to get advantages on PC, and I'm not saying they're unfair advantages, you know, but I'm saying that specifically, you know, in the last decade, people have found that when you play the PC versions of these games, you can find ways to get better performance. Whether that means that the game runs better on PC, whether that means that there's reduced input lag, whether it means that there's somehow reduced latency, or whatever it may be.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Phil. One, get your fucking hair fixed, okay? Like, Jesus Christ. Second, okay, let's discuss this about... We actually just went over that with what Arturo suggests doing, overclocking the polling rate. Doesn't really do much, right? Now, back in the day, yes, it did. Not on today's PC hardware. Today's PC hardware, like Windows 10 and Windows 11... you don't need to do things like disabling dynamic tick or adjusting the high precision event timer. They're pretty fine-tuned now to system performance, so system latency really is an issue. If you really want to watch a good video, I suggest looking up Gamers Nexus. I'll have it linked down in the description. They have a really good video when they start going over NVIDIA Reflex and they start getting into latency talk. This is all bullshit, right? This is floated around for years, like how you can get these awesome fucking tweaks for your PC that make you a god at gaming. That doesn't exist, Phil, because the netcode specifies it, right? The netcode, like Phil shits on the netcode for Street Fighter 6, right? It'll come up, and he'll start bitching about, the netcode. It's the same fucking netcode on a console that it is on the PC, Phil, for Street Fighter 6. Okay? It's the same netcode. It doesn't function any differently. Yes, I can adjust my MTU on my PC so I can get a larger packet count, but the netcode dictates what's being sent to my PC, which is going to be the exact same information that's being sent to your PC. Now, the problem that you face, Phil, is your internet. You're on a 300 megabits down, 10 megabit up connection. Okay? You're setting your stream quality or your stream bitrate to 12 megabits, which means your stream quality then suffers, right? Everybody notices this. Like, we're looking at this now. This is 1080p 50 recorded by Memology. Bill's. Let's actually bring this up here. Okay, hold on a second. Let's bring this up. DSP Gaming. That's the level 1 podcast from 51 minutes ago. So, looking at the stream quality, like Phil's video quality isn't that great, right? It's kind of blurry for 1080p. This is 1080p 60 on Phil's end. Let's just make sure. Oops, sorry. Let's bring this up. So this is 1080p 60 on Phil's end. It is blurry. It's not very sharp. Because his bit rate is blown out and his internet speed is so low for his upload rate, his quality for his stream suffers, right? And this is Phil's fault, right? And we'll get into this when we're actually testing Street Fighter 6. But this is a Phil issue, right? This is not me having a better gaming PC than Phil's PlayStation 5, right? That doesn't come into play. Performance of my PC, realistically, like if you do, because Street Fighter 6 is capped at 60 frames per second. Now remember, we're going to be testing this game at 1080p 60. If I'm at a constant 60 frames per second, and Phil is at a constant 60 frames per second, remember, Street Fighter 6 on the Xbox and on the PS5 is a native 4K under quality or resolution mode. Under performance mode, the game is dropped back to 1440p and then is upscaled, okay? Now, technically, that's actually going to decrease the input latency, because if you watch that Gamers Nexus video, they'll tell you a lot of the professional FPS players, like the guys that play like Counter-Strike 2 now that's out and everything like that, or if you watch like Dr. Disrespect or Tim the Tapman, their graphic quality is set to low because it allows them to release the GPU cap. Right now, at 1080p, you're not GPU capped, you're CPU capped, like, or not capped, bottlenecked, right? Now, that allows the GPU some breathing room so that it's not, the rendering pipeline isn't being stifled, right? That will help decrease your input latency. All right, so the best thing you can do, like if you're playing a first-person shooter, just lower the graphic quality. In a fighter, it really doesn't matter because the fighter's capped at 60 frames per second. If you have a PC that can't sustain 60 frames per second, so it doesn't matter. Like if I have a 4090 and I'm playing Street Fighter 6 at 1080p on my 4090, I'm not going to have a latency benefit, okay? Like, I'm not going to have a lower latency than what Phil has on his PS5. The PS5 technically has the fastest input latency compared to the Xbox, except for the Xbox Series S, because Street Fighter 6 is run at 900p on it. It's not even run at 1080p natively because the system can't can't handle it, so it has to be upscaled. That has the lowest amount of input. The PS4, because it struggles to perform, has the highest amount of input latency, okay, for Street Fighter 6. Phil doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? Phil is just making it up as he goes along.
They're finding ways to get a better response on PC. He cheated. He's a fucking cheater. A blatant fucking cheater. 100% blatant cheating. So there's got to be a reason why every pro player is playing this on PC.
We'll actually debunk this.
And everyone's following suit. And I guarantee you that if you go ahead and you look into the community and you do some technical research, you'll find out why. It's probably all prominently there that they found ways to make it run better and perform better on PC. I guarantee it.
You can see him shaking, right? And he's checking chat. He's looking all over. He knows he's lying because he has to come up with some excuse, some way to cope of why he couldn't perform. It's not the fact that Phil is just an average player. Phil honestly thinks himself to be some god-tier Street Fighter player, right? Because he got 4th place in EVO at a tournament that was boycotted by all the pros and everything, right? Like, Phil, you're average, okay? Your play dictates that. Your rank, your stats for Street Fighter 6 dictate that you're basically an average player. Maybe slightly better than an average at a 53% win rate for both Xbox and PS5. You're just average. You're not a high-end player, right? You can't play with the big boys in Master League. It's just not going to happen, okay? And you need to accept that and try to stop thinking of every single fucking excuse that you can as to why you lose. You lose because you're not that good, okay? It's not because they're playing on PC, which we'll debunk that. We'll bring up Piece of Peace on Twitter here, because Piece of Peace actually went through and figured that out, so we'll take a look at that here shortly.
What's funny to me is that I'm playing at Master, and I'm like, I can't even do a basic 3-hit combo, and the vast majority of people in Master rank apparently are having an unfair advantage because of the platform they're playing on. That's just not fair. I'm sorry, it's bullshit. And offline, this would never be an issue, because offline, everyone plays the same platform. So whether you're playing on Xbox, PS5, or PC, and you're all playing on the same hardware, there's no unfair advantage. But apparently there is a distinct unfair advantage playing this game online. And I'm sorry, you should not be punished because you don't have a high-end gaming PC.
Nobody's punishing you, Phil, right? That is a you issue, right? My internet speed and my gaming PC is not my problem. You had a chance here recently to upgrade your internet. Okay, Comcast offered it to you and you refused. They offered you new hardware. You're using some piece of shit DOCSIS 3 modem, right, that does not have proper QoS packet scheduling, right? You're at 300 megabits down, 10 megabits up. You blow your fucking bitrate budget for OBS because you don't know how to set it. For 15 years, you've had no idea on how any portion of your screen or your stream functions, right? Now, I have a 1.5 gigabits connection with 150 megabits up, okay? That's not my problem, right? You can fix that, Phil. You can contact Comcast right now and go, yes, give me an XB8 modem and I want that 1.2 gigabit internet that you have with 35 megabits up. You can do that. You choose not to. Okay? That's not your opponent's problem. That's a you issue. You have to fix that. You're a streamer. Why don't you have proper internet? Right? Why don't you have VRR running on your TV? That will help with your input latency. Okay? Things like G-Sync or FreeSync or VRR. Your TV supports that, Phil. But because of the capture card, you begged for a new capture card, even though you didn't need one. When your capture card went tits up at Christmas, it wasn't your capture card, it was an OBS update. Your capture card will not allow pass-through for HDR, VRR, 120 Hz, eARC, anything like that. You can go and buy one, Phil. Right? You have the money. You make over $100,000 a year. You can, stop doing polls for a week or something like that. Buy a brand new USB capture card, right? Install Windows 10. Your system does support it. It's not going to brick it. We're going to debunk that. Don't worry. You can do all this, you're refusing to do it. That's a you issue.
You should have the same performance as everybody else.
The game is completely unfair and broken.
It's just not right. And the way I see it is this is the future. Because everyone wanted cross-platform, right? Everyone said we want the biggest player base possible, and cross-platform is the way to do that. But essentially, the moment that you went cross-platform, you opened the floodgates to this level. Now, I'm not calling it cheating. I will refuse to do that because I don't think it's cheating. This is just how it is today. It's not how it used to be, where everyone had the same level of advantage or a level of you know, chance. This is what competitive gaming has become. How do you get the upper hand, right? So let's do it. Let's just get every unfair upper hand advantage you possibly can get just to play online. I want you to think about that. The online play of the game, that means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It's just practice. But these people care about it so much, they go out and they buy $2,000, $3,000 PCs to play this fucking game online. It's
Okay, so how is it practice, Phil? You play Street Fighter 6, you get to master rank, you're bragging about your master rank. Then somebody finally tells you, you find out that master rank doesn't mean jack shit because people with 20% win rates can reach master rank. That'll probably drop too, depending on playtime. I think the longer people play, like, everybody can reach master, right? It just depends on the amount of time you play, okay? Like, realistically. You brag about your master characters, then you play master, and all of a sudden, yeah, online play doesn't matter. But it does, Phil. That's why there is a ranking system. Again, this is a you issue. You can fix these problems. You've been begging for a new PC for a year and a half. If you put $100 away for a year and a half, 18 months, it's $1,800. You could get yourself a nice 4060, maybe 7800X 3D, 32 gigs of RAM. You can get a nice little gaming system for that, Phil. It would be excellent for streaming and everything like that. You could join the big boys and play Street Fighter 6 on PC. You could have done that. You chose not to. That's a you issue. Alright? That's not your opponent's fault. That's not my fault. That's not the Dent's fault. That's you, Phil. Okay? Nobody's responsible for that except for you.
It's insanity when you think about it, but that's just how it is these days.
Third out of the third, I don't have any money to invest. He's saying, if you just invest in PC gaming, you'd be getting so much more out of it. I don't have money to do 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 it. I don't have money to pay my fucking taxes. You think I'm gonna buy a fucking gaming PC? You're out of your mind. Alright? Jesus. So, it is what it is. All I can do is keep plugging away and try to get better and try to succeed in a situation where literally all circumstances will be against me if I continue to play on PS5. And there's nothing I can do about it besides finding $2,000 to $3,000 to drop on a gaming PC, which obviously I don't want to do.
Catch me not playing on a $3,000 gaming PC. That's peasant level gaming PC, Phil. Minimum $5,000. You need $5,000 for a gaming PC, Phil, to play Street Fighter 6. Okay, at 1080p 60. That's minimum. Like, get with the fucking program, dude.
I think that would be pretty stupid to spend that much money on a PC just to play Street Fighter. Especially, again, because I'm not aspiring to be a pro player. I think it's ridiculously unfair that there's this level of advantage. That they're not dropping moves, they can react. Like I said, instant. I'm not even talking, slight reaction. Instant reaction to drive impact. While when I do mine, the best I can do is maybe at the last chance it comes out. With them, it's instant. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Now, you can see him checking chat there, right? Because everybody's calling him out, right? Phil's talking about instant reaction, right? Phil, that's... the netcode decides that, right? When you're playing in a game, right? Let's say you have a game, you're 30 milliseconds lag, right? You have 0 frames up there. They have the exact same amount of reaction time as you do, Phil. Because the netcode dictates that. You're seeing the exact same information at the same time that they are. Okay? There is no advantage. That is how rollback netcode works. And I know, Phil, that fucking debunk, that React video that he was sent, right? Where Phil was trying to tell Tony Cannon on how to actually how his code actually works. Like, the guy that's coded it, Phil knows better about that guy's coding than he does. And Phil's going to tell him, no, that's not how your coding works, right? This is the guy that flunked out of CTS at Fairfield University, I mean. Because, and I quote, this is what Phil stated, everybody in the class already knew the material, and Phil didn't. Well, no shit, Phil. I've been working on PC since I was 7 years old. Right? I knew when I started my college courses, my university courses for it, yeah, I knew the majority of the material already. Most of us do. That was our hobby. You picked a course where you knew absolutely fuck all. Everybody was better than you at it, and you flunked out of it. Yet you're gonna tell Tony Cannon on how his coding works. Like, that's fucking rich.
Right? That's insanity. That's the worst feeling. The funny part is, everyone's now parroting each other in the chat. What about your TV? You mean my brand new Sony TV that I bought a year ago that we looked up and has insanely low input lag compared to other TVs?
Let's debunk this. I did a video on this, right? We can bring up Artings right now, right? Yeah, I bought a new monitor for myself. It's coming next month, don't worry. I spent a lot of money on the fucking weekend. Okay, so let's look up the Sony X90J Artings review. Okay, so this is the TV that Phil bought at Christmas time, right? When his TV died. The old... Actually, let's bring that up. TCL Series 4, right? TCL Series 4 Artings... Yeah. Not 2022. It's the one from 2018. So this was the TV Phil had previously, okay? This is Phil's new TV. So let's look up the input lag on this TV here really quick. Okay, response time. Okay, so that's got 16.3 milliseconds of response time, and the input lag 8.7. Okay, so this is the input lag for Phil's TV, right? So remember, Phil believes that he's playing a 1080p 60. He is not playing a 1080p 60 on his console. If the render, we'll discuss this in the video when we get to the 30 frames per second video that I do here. Basically, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, not the S, they use what's called dynamic resolution, okay? The majority of the games that are released on these consoles do not run at 4K native. They use what's called dynamic resolution. Now, what they do is the dynamic resolution will be something like, depending on the game, depending on the render mode. So you have quality or resolution mode. Then you have performance mode. So we'll take a game like Starfield. Okay? Starfield. What resolution?
And I'm tired of it now. No more excuses, all right? Because the bottom line is people are like, Phil's not engaged in his commentary. And Phil's commentary is boring, and that's why people don't want to watch the playthroughs of the...
So Starfield runs at, on the Series X, the game is rendering internally at 1440p, while on the Series S it runs at 900p. So this means the game is not running at 4K 30, it is actually running at 1440 30 frames, and then it uses what's called FSR, right? That's AMD's upscaler, which allows it to be displayed at 4K. Now, there are some graphical issues that can arise from that. Like, it'd be better on PC, of course, PC, right? So, they don't render at the resolution. Phil setting it to 1080p within the console's GUI, within the console's console menu, that won't force the game to run at 1080p 60, okay? It is still rendered, regardless of what you set there, it is still rendered at 1440p. So we could look at the input lag on Phil's TV. So he's been playing at 4K 60 on his TV at 14.9 milliseconds. Let's bring up the Sony X90J. Okay, so the response time is 3.9 milliseconds. This is the screen response time, right? So we can see in the TCL Series 4 that his response time is 6.3 milliseconds. but his input lag is what we are looking at. And the input lag on this TV is actually higher at 18.1 milliseconds. So Phil's new Sony X90J is slower in response in input lag than his old TCL Series 4. So technically, Phil's old TCL Series 4 is better for gaming. His Sony X90J is worse, right? And Phil refuses to believe this because he doesn't want to admit that he fucked up when he bought the TV.
The same TV that I've been playing games like Lies of P on, Wolong Fallen Dynasty on, and I'm perfect parrying everything.
That's offline play, Phil. Remember that. That's offline play. You won't suffer from delay because of your shitty internet. Okay? Street Fighter 6, you play online. That's a you issue. You refuse to upgrade your internet. Even when you play training mode, Phil, you constantly drop those combos. You're in the training mode, and you're fucking up your combos constantly. Right? Is that input delay, right? Or are you dropping inputs then as well? That's offline play. Remember? You don't have the netcode to worry about. Right now, you're comparing a single-player offline game to a multiplayer online game and trying to justify input lag. Think about that, right?
That TV? What are you talking about? The TV that I literally don't have problems with any game. But now you're going to blame my TV. What it's funny about is everyone always wants to point the finger at anything but what the obvious problem is.
That's
right?
you, Phil.
But it must be this instead. It could probably... No, it's not any...
Okay. So, Phil, let's look over Phil, right? Okay? PC players have an input advantage. The netcode is garbage. The online play is garbage. The game caches the inputs. The game does this. This is the issue. My controller is broken. But the obvious issue, Phil, is you're just not that good. You're average. There are better players out there that can play the game much better than you. And that's who you're now fighting against. And you can't stand it.
Any of the bullshit that you can make up, it's the game. The game gives unfair advantage to one platform. And there's nothing you can do about it besides try to play better or deal with it or buy a fucking PC. Alright? Like, what are you... I mean, geez. It's just like, how do you make excuses for fucking Capcom? Like, why would you do that? Exactly. They're not going to kiss your ass. They're not going to send you a collector's edition package of Street Fighter 6 because you said, oh, it's your TV is the reason why this is happening. Okay? They don't like you. You can stop trying to be the Capcom Defense Force. You know? And this doesn't buy you brownie points or anything like that.
Okay, so this is the test done for Street Fighter 6. PS5 raw milliseconds, right? So this actually states that the PS5 has the lowest amount of input lag. The PS4 Pro has the highest amount of input lag. Or not the PS5, sorry, that's my bad. The Xbox Series X Xbox Series S, because it runs at 900p, has the lowest amount of input lag. Second is PS5. PC is at 58.93, and then PC with oh shit, what is this? This is with overclocked polling rate, which is 58.17. So there's no benefit, like I said, to overclocking polling rate. So like, get that out of your head. Like, fuck off. That's bullshit. So technically, Phil is actually playing on the best platform. Unless he were to grab Cat's Series S and play it on there, then he'd have the lowest amount of input lag. So right here, the Xbox Series X is better than the PC. Like, debunked, Phil, right? Like, you're lying. Okay? Let's just be real here.
Like that, you understand?
Fucking stupid.
Right? So you gotta adjust. And I will. I'll get better. Alright? But yeah, it's disheartening right now. The initial response, or the initial feeling I had, was a little bit of disappointment and feeling disheartened because I had worked hard to get to Master twice with Blanca, and now that I'm there, oh well, you're at a disadvantage to everyone, just deal with it. Oh, well, no, that shouldn't be like that. It should be that everyone's on equal footing. This is the equivalent of back in the day, me going to an arcade, and here's Street Fighter on a cabinet, and the person on the left-hand side, their controls work perfectly, and on the right-hand side, for some reason, the buttons don't work half the time. but you still pay.
Oh, so let me get this straight. So when Phil's getting beat at a cabinet game, obviously there's something wrong with the cabinet, right? The guy on the other hand, on the other side, is got a good controller, and Phil's controller broken. I bet you people have switched Phil's sides and still dumped on Phil, and then he's just sat there and complained the entire time.
Paying the same money to play the game, and you're still expected to play at a competitive level, and if you lose, you still got to get off the cabinet. Well, how is that fair? And I dealt with that all the time back in the day. It's the same feeling. It pisses you off. You're annoyed. At the same time, though, I controlled my anger, and I am happy about that.
No, you didn't.
Now,
no, you didn't, motherfucker.
Unlike when I was playing with Aki last week, where there was a lot going on personally in my life, and it really was driving me nuts. I'm more cool and calm and collected this week. So even though I was upset, I wasn't punching the joystick. I wasn't super angry or anything. For me, it was more, I was upset that things were dropping. It wasn't being upset at the people I'm playing, which, yeah, some of them were pattern players. But it was more being upset that I can't even get my moves out. You know what I mean? That's a different feeling. So.
Beautiful, isn't it? Okay, so that's the memeology video. Thanks, man, for letting me use your video here. Now, let's get into our test here, okay? So, I have a PS5 controller. I'm going to plug it in using USB. I'm using my USB-C port on my PC. I am using a cable capable of 10 gigabits per second, even though that is way overkill for the PS5 controller, and it won't matter one bit, because the PS5 controller communicates at one certain speed.
You had no respect. Apologizing isn't just words. It's I will not do this thing again. No respect. Because I feel bad about it. He watches too much.
Okay, so my controller is plugged in. Start test. X is working, square is working, triangle is working, circle is working. Up, down, left, right. Everything is working fine. This is a great site for testing your gamepad out, right? I am going to be using something similar when I do my actual video, when I'm testing out input latency. Shocker, for Street Fighter 6, it really doesn't matter. So we're all good. Okay, so let me turn some Meerkat music back on here. Actually kicked my Xbox controller on. Or my disable that. Perfect. There we go. Look at those. Look at that PC stuff, right? Look at how awesome that is, right? Okay, so we know the controller itself is working fine. I'm not getting any type of input latency that I can feel. Instant, like my button pushes are coming out instantly, so I'm not having any issues with it whatsoever. Okay, so that is the level 4 goat cast. Gamepad tester down. Okay, so let's bring up Street Fighter 6. We're going to look at some menu stuff. We're actually going to debunk some stuff here really quick. Okay, so Phil made the statement that all the pro players are playing on PC only. Let's see if we can debunk this.
I was playing for the top cards. I was playing the shit out of that game, okay? After about a year, they launched what they called Season 2.
Street Fighter 6.
Worthless. And I said, this game fucking sucks. What a complete waste of time that this was. All right.
So let's debunk this really quick. Shocker, I've already looked this up. Let's go to search, keyword search, there's my player's name. Let's look up Viscant. Phil's buddy. Remember, Phil was going to sleep on this guy's couch, but Viscant didn't want him all bloody, so he taught Jaha how to beat the shit out of him. Okay, so here's Viscant. Viscant actually plays on console. Shocker. Right? Crossplay icon means that he's playing on console. This is what Phil doesn't understand. Phil thinks that double arrows may mainly mean that they're playing on PC. We can actually debunk this. Let's bring this up really quick. Ritagra. Let's bring up Piece of Peace. There's our good old pal Peace. So Peace actually tallied this last night. So Phil had claimed that he was playing against 95%. That was what Phil had claimed. 95% PC players. So 23 total players. 13 of them were on PC. 10 of them were on console for 65% PC players. So of course Phil lied, right? Phil doesn't understand how the game works. He doesn't understand anything whatsoever. He just pushes buttons, right? That's our buddy Phil. Okay, so that's debunked, right? Phil was not playing against majority PC players. Well, he was 65%, not the 95% he claims. He claims that all pro players play on PC. Viscant obviously plays on console. And I believe Viscant plays on a PS5, but do not quote me on that. Okay, so let's look at the settings for PC, okay? Go to the graphics, quality mode, we're going to leave it custom for now. 1920 by 1080 is what we're running. Unfortunately, the game does not support ultra wide, which is 3440 by 1440. Street Fighter V did, and there is a mod that you can do to the game that does get it to work at 3440 by 1440p. I've just never set it up. So basic graphics settings now. So you can see here maximum frame rate. Again, maximum frame rate. We can change it all the way to 120. It doesn't matter because when you play online and when you're playing in an actual fight, it's capped at 60 frames. This is just for the menu, and this is just for World Tour. So we're going to leave it at 60 frames per second. Okay, we don't need to change that. And that's capped at 60 frames per second on console and PC. There is no difference, right? So you don't have a frame advantage in FPS. Okay, regardless. Now, if your PC is shit and you can't sustain 60 frames per second, well then, yeah, you're going to have a bad time playing. You're going to have increased input latency because you're fighting your performance. If you can sustain 60 frames per second, just like how the PS5 and the Xbox can, the Xbox actually kind of wonky. It can drop below 60 frames per second sometimes. The PS5 is a constant 60 when you're playing online. Okay, it's a constant 60. When you're just playing even single player fighting, okay? It stays at a constant 60. You don't have to worry about anything like that. The PC, though, does have better graphics options, okay? Things like ambient occlusion, right? Screen space reflections. We can disable VSync. Again, this is a Phil issue. VRR. Phil can support VRR. He just doesn't have a capture card that supports the pass-through. That will lower his input latency. I am running G-Sync, which is VRR, and G-Sync does help to lower latency, okay? I can have anti-aliasing enabled. Anti-aliasing, though, enabling it is really going to decrease performance because it's going to be taking out all the jaggies on the edges. I don't have that enabled. It is not enabled on the console versions, so there's no benefit for me there, okay? Subsurface scattering, skin effects, blah, blah, blah. Some of this stuff may be available on console. I'm actually not too sure, but I do know ambient occlusion, screen space reflections are not. Detailed graphics qualities, we can get higher quality on things like textures, on things like lighting and everything like that on PC. Now, if you want to lower your input, I've done some tests already on this. Sorry for my yawning. It's late here. It doesn't really make a difference from what I can tell with input lag within Street Fighter 6. In games like Warzone 2, yes, if I lower my performance all the way down, or my graphics all the way down, because I'm no longer CPU or GPU bottlenecked, which I'm not even in Street Fighter with it set to high or low, I don't see an advantage, okay? So there is no advantage for me to lower my quality. Input delay reduction, okay? Now this does help to lower input delay, but this is also available on console. This is engine specific. This is what Capcom has designed, so you want to have this on, right? If Phil doesn't have it on, well, that's a fucking Phil issue, right? That's not my problem. Basic displays, blah, blah, blah. Screw game now. I want to have data collection analysis. Fuck. Crossplay is on. We're going to leave that. What I want to do, I'm going to keep all this on because I don't care.
The ones that I play are
expensive. Like you spend $1 here or there to make progress.
Avatar accessories. Okay, so let's go into an actual match here. Okay, let's go do offline play really quick. X random. And we'll pick Ken because Ken is cheaters. X random. JP. This makes it be level 1 because of the shitty.
Gotta do this. Come on.
An honor, to be sure.
Round 1. Fight.
Okay, now I want to do options.
Here. Here.
Hadouken!
Away.
Like, I'm not getting any input lag from what I can tell. And my inputs are correct, right? Like, I push back, I go back, right? Down forward. Punch, fireball, right? Shoryuken. Do a grab throw, right? Hurricane kick. Now, those are my inputs during single player, right? So I'm not seeing any type of input delay whatsoever. This is offline, right? Oh, mash jab there. My bad. That's cheating. So I'm not having any problems with my input lag offline. Okay, now let's go to mode select. Let's go into training.
Metro City downtown.
Go back to Scrubby Ken because we're cheaters. Cammy.
Another mission awaits.
Okay, so I want to do. Okay, so I've got my controls on the left-hand side, so let's do down, 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 down. Down forward punch. So it is picking up my controls fine. So you can, we're good there. Okay, so Phil states that on the left-hand side, you can see my controls, right? So, right? Phil states that this lies, okay? That this is incorrect. It doesn't show this. What I push doesn't happen. So if I push forward, according to Phil, this is the lie. So it does have me forward. Now I'm in neutral, right? Go back, now in neutral, right? Down forward punch, hurricane kick. It's correct, right? Well, not hurricane kick, down forward fireball, right? It's correct. Let's do Shoryuken. That's correct. So again, like, I'm offline. It's not dropping my inputs. So again, my inputs there were correct, right? It's not dropping any of my inputs or anything. So let's go online.
First online, casual match.
Okay, and now what character do I have selected? Ken. Look at my fucking silver rank. Damn, I'm good. Can I bring up? We have crossplay settings set to all. Other commentating settings off. Side settings player 1.
Here comes a new challenger.
Gotta do this.
I'm playing against a PC player with a ping of 80.
Eye on the prize.
Now it's got 1 frame of delay according to the rollback. But I'm not experiencing any type of delay.
Not so fast. That's
Round 2. Fight.
That was actually pretty fucking baller. Nice combo, bro. Nice combo. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. So again, at 84 milliseconds, I'm only getting 1 frame rollback. There is no delay.
Ken wins.
And now I'm down to 0 frames, right? During the rest of the match, it drops down to 0 frames. You saw the 0 frame tick there at the top. Request a rematch.
Round 1.
Go again. Now I'm at 2 frames delay, and that's still not bad. Once you get to around 5, that is typically where you're going to start noticing issues. Now, we've really never noticed Phil hit frames, 5 frames per second, or 5 frames per second. Getting beat. I'm getting beat. Wake up, Koryukin.
pay attention.
Oh, nicely done, nicely done. So again, 83 milliseconds, 1 frame delay. I'm experiencing no lag whatsoever. Now, for Phil would say that this is unplayable, right? This is what Phil had said for Mortal Kombat 1. Phil stated that this was unplayable, right? 60 milliseconds of lag was the slowest he's got. Oh, very nicely done. He read me very well there. getting beat.
Sit down and shut up! I've had enough.
Still. Maybe not. Ah. Good match, bro. Good match. So even at an 85 millisecond latency, I'm still not getting any issues whatsoever. And I only got 1 frame of rollback. That's it. And the latency is actually showing yellow. Oh, I should have timed that wrong. Hurt myself out. Wake up, show you.
Round 2. Fight.
Oh, that was bad. That was bad. Oh, nicely done, bro. Nicely done. Oh, you timed that good too. You gotta be pretty good. Very good, very good. Remember, Phil said that you can't get out of the corner. There's no true reversal. Well, that wake up short you can sure was. Good game, buddy. Good game. Let's go one more. Let's see what happens in the next round. So again, like, even with a high ping with 84, and 84 isn't bad, right? I experienced no lag, I experienced no dropped frames, well, there's one drop frame, but you can't really tell that fucking sank you. But I had no input latency, my inputs were correct, nothing was dropping, I was getting what I thought I was getting.
Round 1.
Who's gonna get it? Oh, 60's gonna hurt. Okay, this is 75 milliseconds. It's a little bit better, still got 1 frame of delay. But I'm not noticing that whatsoever. All my moves are coming out when that I'm planning to do. Make up Shoryuken. And I fucked that.
Look at this body of mine. Round 2. Fight. Hadouken! Hadouken!
Should I zone him?
Hadouken! You're mine! You're mine! That wake you up!
This guy's just relying on fucking driving effect. Oh, buddy, that didn't work out for you now, did it? He's gonna burn himself out.
Not so fast! Coming at ya! Bring in the heat! Bet that hurt. What? Hadouken!
Oh, fuck, the wall bounce got me. So I've got 2 rounds now where I have had, according to Phil, would be an unacceptable ping. Okay, I had 80 plus on the first round and I had 75 on the second. I had 1 frame of delay according to the game. But outside of that, it was very responsive. My moves came out, I wasn't dropping anything. I don't have any type of frame advantage whatsoever. We're going to talk about netcode. The netcode itself will actually dictate what frames you're going to see, right? Now, Arturo Sanchez with FGCOS, let's bring this back up again, FGCOS. Yeah, so he's brought the site back up. So, Arturo claims that you're going to get a 4-frame advantage, right? Bill is claiming that somehow PC players get a massive, they can tweak their systems out so they get a massive advantage. When it all comes down to it, no. Because the netcode is going to dictate what each of you see. Street Fighter 6 is locked down pretty good, okay? Console and PC is capped at 60 frames per second, so you don't have an FPS advantage. So if you had a 4090 playing against a PlayStation 5, you're going to have the exact same amount of frames. You're capped at 60. It's not going to produce anything over 60 frames per second. So you're not going to have what Arturo calls as a latency advantage, which is frame time. You're not going to have that because at 1080p 60, you are not GPU limited. Okay, you are not going to have an issue with the 60, and especially with the 60 frame per second cap. You're not going to get an advantage there. Input. PlayStation 5 technically has a higher input. Overclocking the polling rate does 1/8 of a millisecond for Street Fighter 6. So on PC, that's not going to give you an advantage on PC whatsoever. Now, what about 360 hertz monitor? Okay, Arturo talks a lot about the 360 hertz monitor, like higher hertz is better. There is a disadvantage to having a game running at 60 frames per second and then running at like 360 hertz or 560 hertz, right? Because they do have new monitors now. Let's bring this up, www.org.com, because Asus is now releasing a new monitor here. Right here. It's a 24.1 inch, 540 hertz gaming panel. Now, when you look at high hertz refresh rate monitors, there is an issue that we can bring up called inverse ghosting. Now, what is inverse ghosting? This is just ghosting, isn't it? Okay, so here's inverse ghosting. This is what inverse ghosting looks like. This is what normal ghosting looks like, right? So this is a monitor that has a bad response time, right? Versus a monitor that has a very good response time, a very high refresh rate. The problem is with inverse ghosting or pixel overshoot is if you're playing a game like Street Fighter 6, which is capped at 60 frames per second, you're using a monitor that has 360 hertz or 540 hertz, you will suffer from inverse ghosting. The reason behind this is a monitor, the typical native refresh rate is 144 to 165 hertz. Anything over that is considered what they call overdrive, where you're overclocking your panel to run at a faster hertz. The problem is at a faster hertz, faster refresh rate, and you're playing a game that's 60 frames per second, the pixel on the screen, the refresh rate on the screen, refreshes faster than what the game is displaying, right? So if you're capped at 60 frames per second, you got a 4090, you're capped at 60 frames. You're only getting 60 frames per second, but your monitor is refreshing at 540 hertz a second. So that's why you see an old pixel here and an old pixel here. The video card can't keep up with the monitor, okay? And that's what leads to inverse ghosting. This is more prominent on things like lighting. So when you're throwing like a fireball and stuff like that, it can have this halo effect where the fireball kind of looks like it's in front and it kind of looks like it's in behind, right? This is the downside. Now, I know I talked to Lord Thunder, shout out to Lord Thunder for a lot of help he's given me here over the recent weeks with contacting people within the FGC. We had discussed this, basically talking about inverse ghosting and shit like that, and he put me on to what screens they use at Evo, and they use the InZone M3. Now the InZone M3 monitor supports a hertz of 240, but again, it is also done with overdrive. The other issue is that it's a G-Sync monitor, and they're playing the PS5 on it, and the PS5, it supports FreeSync. This isn't a FreeSync monitor, and it's only displayed HDR 400, like fucking trash HDR. Remember, you don't want to use HDR below 600, right? So it's 1 millisecond response time, 240 hertz monitor. Now the response time on it actually isn't 1 millisecond; it's more like 2.3. It's 1 millisecond grade to grade, right? So with it being NVIDIA G-Sync and not FreeSync, you're not going to get the VRR benefit, right? And the VRR is basically like, you see the screen tearing here, right? Again, Phil can use VRR, he refuses not to. But with this monitor, with it having a 240 hertz display, you're going to get haloing effects at the Evo tournament again. But Evo's owned by Sony now, right? So they can do what they want. For me, I always like to keep my refresh rate within a 1-to-2 ratio, right? So if I'm playing a game at 60 hertz, I want to have a native refresh rate of 120 hertz. Realistically, the biggest noticeable impact from getting a higher hertz screen is between 60 and 120. After 120, it's not very noticeable. Okay, Arturo seems to disagree. He seems to say 60 to 100. Linus Tech Tips did a good video. Check it out. They did a video basically on 480 hertz monitors and who could tell the difference. They just did a blind test. They brought in a bunch of LTT employees and said, what do you feel is faster? Nobody could figure out which was which, right? Versus 120 hertz versus a 480 hertz monitor. It didn't, nobody could tell. So doing high hertz gaming for Street Fighter 6 really isn't beneficial if it's capped at 60 frames per second. You're not going to get that benefit, right? And that's regardless if you're on a 4090 or on a PlayStation 5. You're just not going to get the advantage that Phil thinks because you're playing online netcode. Alright? Now Phil, it depends on the day Phil's playing. One day Street Fighter 6 is awesome, the netcode is great. The next day Street Fighter 6 is horrible and the netcode is garbage. Right? Phil's biggest downside is his internet. Right? Always has been. And Phil has had ample time to upgrade his internet line. He refuses to. Right? Phil can get better input. Right? He can get better input delay, right? Get a capture card that supports VRR. Right? Let's bring this up here. Let's go to the one I have. EVGA. Okay, and I use the XR1 Pro. So this supports 4K VRR HDR pass-through. Right? It's all Phil needs. So you can plug this in. Right? He will have to install Windows 10. That video is upcoming. I promise you. We'll get it done this weekend. It will be up. Prophet OS, best OS ever, right? There's nothing strange about Prophet OS. It's Windows 11, just a little bit fixed. Like, fuck me, right? So this supports VRR HDR pass-through. Phil can go and buy this right now. He can get 4K 60. He can get VRR passing through. It's going to help to improve his input play. Okay? You get HDR, Phil. You get everything, right? You can go do this right now, right? There's ones from what's the Elgato? Shout out to my new Stream Deck. I'm loving it. Like I said, I spent a ton of money on the weekend. So let's go to capture devices, and Phil can do internal. Its internal one works fine. The HD60X does allow for also VRR pass-through, 4K 60 HDR VRR pass-through, so Phil could do this as well. Not a problem. Again, right? It's a Phil issue. Phil refuses to spend money on his business, right? He relies solely on people donating stuff to him so he can DoorDash, drink gin, and fucking do WWE polls. Okay? Like, it's not that, like I said earlier, it's not that PC players have an advantage against Phil. It's a Phil issue. Okay? So VRR, right? Pass through everything. We're good. Right? Phil, you can do this. You can do this on your day off. You can go by one of the computer shops, go, give me a fucking Elgato HD60X. Bang. Get it ordered from Amazon. Right? I ordered my new Stream Deck on Amazon yesterday. It was here today. I'm loving this thing. The Stream Deck is fucking awesome. So again, right? Do PC players have an advantage? No. The lowest input latency is on the PlayStation 5. If I overclock my polling rate on my PS5 controller through my USB, does it give me an advantage? No, it's a 1/8 millisecond advantage over the standard. I don't have an input advantage on film. Regardless of the screen that I'm using, regardless of the video card that I have, regardless of how much I spend on my computer, I do not have an advantage over film. Alright? So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you can, I actually hit up Tony Cannon on Twitter, which is now X. I would love to sit down with him and chat about rollback netcode as it pertains to Phil's claims, Phil lying about the rollback netcode, right? If you guys can hit him up on Twitter, maybe let him know that I'm looking maybe just to have a sit down chat. That would be great. That'd be some great help from you. Again, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.